Carpe diem. Carpe diem.
Sitting in a 4v3.
Everfrog Esports trying to find an angle they can, trying to find somebody out of position.
We're gonna go through on this. Oh, what a wall. We're gonna take flag. White gonna go in.
It's going to be a really, really interesting one.
Oh my god. All of this competition could be so damn close, so I cannot wait for us to finally decide who's going to be the champion. We are expecting some chaos, some great moments.
A beast mode has killed 3. Only gonna really need that rampage, so it's gonna clear it out. Santi gonna get themselves a big old 4K. Oh. Santi getting rid of 3, clearing out the house.
That is crazy.
Nunji actually kills 3 people.
This team feels entirely different on this faster composition. Now Saga4 is hanging around, getting onto the high ground. Post bomb's gonna stick under Leaky. They're not gonna be able to survive it at the end of the day. Santi can find a 3K.
Rio shoving this Ana into a corner. Woo! One more for the road for Rio.
That is all signs go. Melophobia with 3 Melophobia. Start the fight. They'll end the fight. Oh my god. Beagle Bus, they have to play aggressively into this energy. Popping off in a moment where you needed just that. Ruby in that backline. Oh, the flick. Looking for it. Oh my goodness. The 4th one as well. Do they get the ace? They get the ace.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome back to CGL. We are here with our Masters Division here in the lower bracket. These are 2 teams currently fighting to stay alive in their playoffs run. The victor gets to move and go through the gauntlet that is the lower bracket. The loser, unfortunately, is well and truly done for the season. How are we all doing tonight? It is Rags and Megalast bringing you all the action here. Mega, I'm very excited to see how this is going to shake out, considering what is on the line for both these teams, Rat Milkers and Low Ground Main.
Yeah, obviously always terrifying to go into an elimination match, but I think especially so for Low Ground Main, probably didn't expect to find themselves here. If we can get a quick look at the bracket, you'll see that Low Ground Main ended the ended the season in the number 3 seed, so they're feeling pretty confident. But then a massive upset coming from the number 7 seed Iliad Poseidon is what sent them down here. So now Rat Milkers going to try to repeat that double upset potential here to get low ground main out. But it's going to be an interesting one regardless, because again, you just have, you know, a team that was not expected to be down here already having to fight with their back against the wall.
Yeah, two teams who've had very different seasons is a gentle way of saying that, getting to this point here. Whereas Rat Milkers just sort of making their way into the playoffs only just here. Whereas Lower Mains, yeah, as you're saying, they didn't expect to be all the way down here. That 5-map situation, really tough way to lose, but of course the only way it feels like they could have lost. So they have a lot to prove to stay alive here, considering every match from here on in is going to be an elimination match for them. Their job is to send home every contender that comes their way and to stay alive so they can get hopefully a rematch or even just bypass their previous defeaters in that first round all the way into the grand finals. But it's a long road to get there, and in order to do any of that, they cannot ignore the stepping stone that is to be the team Rat Milkers looking to play spoiler.
Exactly. And, you know, again, both these teams are going to be playing with any and everything because of that elimination sort of looming here. So it's going to be an interesting matchup, absolutely, especially at Masters. You're still in a bit of a gray area in terms of meta, right? You're not worried about what the pros are playing just yet. You might try to incorporate it, but if you've got somebody who can really flex their muscles on a particular hero, it can help them alleviate the pressure and take over the game. So we're hoping to see some of that tonight here. Now, as we're getting into it, I do believe, is Ilios actually the first map? Let's find out. Or if it's just a bait background video. Yeah, it is just a bait background video, but we are heading to Lijiang first.
Yep, Lijiang Tower, not much of a surprise here, of course, as we kick things off. And so, plenty of known quantities here on Lijiang Tower. We'll see if these more common compositions that we've been seeing kind of at all levels of play present themselves, or if, as you're suggesting there, Mega, I think there's still tons of room for these teams to run pocket strats, you know, to stick with whatever their tank is most comfortable running and orbit around that in a way that makes most sense to them. Of course, Zarya Reaper still in a fantastic spot coming into this, so if that is not going to be a ban, that certainly is online. Both of those tools in that tool belt are absolutely crucial for so many of these teams at all levels of play at this point here, seeing no real changes to the versatility of that composition. But time will tell in just a matter of seconds here. And look at that, the Zarya ban, who would have guessed? So, all right, one of the mainstays of this map in particular, not on the table here.
Yeah, and I mean, it makes tons of logical sense, right? Zarya, just somebody who's very prevalent, very dominant right now, especially if you're wanting to play some of these more diva styles. It's something you just want to take out and sort of limit your opponents. And again, along with Lijiang Tower, very good litmus test to start us off here. And the Cassidy ban to couple it with it on the side of Rat Milkers here. You know, maybe it's a DPS that can work itself into the mix here, especially when you have, depending on the ranges like Sojourn and things like that, that maybe are just a little bit too long-winded. You want to be more in the fight like a Cassidy can provide here. So it could be a good ban to start here, and I think this is going to make a very even playing field. So both teams are really going to be at their best on that one.
Yeah, crucially, often you see Cassidy as a specific answer on these sort of maps to the Reaper, kind of one of the few things that can really play spoiler to that backline devastator that Reaper can be. But on your lineup for Rat Milkers here in terms of players for your DPS line, it is Zachary and Monkami, and then for your tank, it is Pickle, just holding strong, and for your support line, it's going to be Vian Shay and Fish. So right now having their favored heroes out the gate here. Of course, that Kiriko Lucio, very likely here, considering no backline bans, that is still one of the go-to backlines at all levels, especially on control maps here, but Lijiang Tower seems to be one of their favored maps in particular.
Yeah, and again, to be fair here, I mean, Lijiang Tower is a map favored by pretty much any and everyone here. It's a map you should have some level of comfort on, and if you don't, realistically, you just shouldn't be playing Overwatch. I mean, that's just the bread and butter of it here. But looking at low ground main, you got Pred and Kind on the DPS line, high quality on tank, and then Swag, Daddy, and Saucer on support here. This is the squad we expect from low ground main, and honestly, I'm very happy to see that they're going to be leading off with this starting roster here, just because, again, this is going to be them at full strength here. There's not going to be any cope or anything like that. So Rat Milkers, again, has a tough opponent in the lower bracket round 1, but can try to be that second upset.
Yeah, something that you see where you really want to have these teams that are kind of have more expectations placed upon them, like Low Ground Main in the situation here. You really want to see them, taking it seriously. You do want to see them playing to the level they're capable of, not necessarily assuming they're going to get a free and easy win off any of these teams. Again, playoffs are a different beast entirely here. Just because a team might not have been top of the pack in the regular season does not mean there's plenty of room for them to fall. As we see with Low Ground Main being in the lower bracket this early in the playoffs. Anything is possible here, so you really cannot afford to take any chances in terms of playing your best players and your best strats.
Exactly. And these best strats, like we were talking about, ended up being an Orisa for both sides here, but there are differences across the comp here, especially in the backline, right? The Brig Juno having a bit more sustain versus the Kiriko Lucico, who's going to be a bit faster paced, but already Pred's missing.
I mean, that is a massive javelin out from Pickle, just locking Pred in place, down a Sojourn immediately on the side of Low Ground Main, on the metaphorical low ground at this point here, having to be very careful as Monkumi dashing forward, trying to find a good amount of reset there, but not able to find any kills so far. These javelins, I mean, it's only been a couple out so far. Pickle has been very accurate and very keen with those, looking to find these squishier targets and, of course, high quality. Not to be outdone either, but first control, no foot on the objective in time, is going the way of Rat Milkers here. So as long as this fight goes on, that is point percentage being ticked up for the team in red. Pickle, however, is getting caught out, went a bit deep there as the rest of Low Ground Main able to pincer maneuver around that Orisa, and Saucer confirming the kill there at the very end. So it looks as though, unless we see a touch on the objective, as is not going to be the case, only 70% gained. That is a solid recontest here for Low Ground Main.
Yeah, and I mean, it's very interesting because Rat Milkers had solid positioning and things like that, but then Pickle just decides to go a little too deep trying to chase a kill here. That's the mistakes that Low Ground Main will happily wait for and try to punish here. Now heading towards the next fight, we already see high quality going to be closer on that Terra Surge, and Pred already getting a pick makes it that much easier for Low Ground Main to keep holding.
Yeah, this is Low Ground Main we were expecting to see coming into this. However, Monkumi is still alive and kicking. You cannot count out this Genji. Clearly always on the hunt and able to come up big there, taking the Sojourn and Pred out. High quality also falling down to Pickle does mean that that is the mainstay, forcing your composition here for Low Ground Main to fall all the way back as Rat Milkers surge forward yet again. And yeah, only 37% gained for Low Ground Main, but this next fight is going to have some ultimates involved.
Yeah, tons of ultimates for both squads here. I think beyond ultimates, though, it's going to be interesting to watch Monkumi on this Genji, right? Constantly flanking, constantly being a menace in the backline here, is getting away with murder.
Overclock out with both Sojourns, and both have fallen at this point here as the Terror Surge out from Pickle claims the life of Pred. So long for those Sojourns, but high quality is still able to rotate around the objective here, and of course on the back of a rallying Brig, you are spending everything you have in this fight for Low Ground Main, but still having almost a blade in reserve is just what you need, but Fish having the sound barrier might be just the thing to allow to re-engage for Rat Milkers.
I mean, yeah, the sound barrier, both sides are going to have the Dragon Blade as well, so Fish having that is going to be very, very crucial in living here, because Low Ground Main really ended up tapping the bank out otherwise, right? Everything else invested into that last fight, so unless Kind can come up massively with this Dragon Blade in the face of a sound barrier, you're going to have Monokumi go crazy.
Yeah, and that is an immediate kill onto Saucer. Essentially, this fight is well and truly over before it really kicks off. That sound barrier, more in celebration than anything else, allowing Rat Milkers to find their way back onto the objective. And this has been such a back and forth point already here. Only 65% at the highest percentage gain for Low Ground Main.
Exactly, and this contesting constantly going here. It shows, just again, these teams can be close paced, but now heading towards the next fight, you're seeing Low Ground Main try to build close to another Terra Surge. Meanwhile, the entire time, Shay is getting closer to yet another Kitsune Rush here, so it just depends if there's going to be time given to build these ultimates.
Kind eats a bunch of damage coming in, has to hold back and get healed up, really stalling out the aggression here from Low Ground Main, and eventually gets found out by Fish anyway, so that is again another push. I mean, you're still going to fight this a little bit. No, finally disengaging here for Low Ground Main. That is the right call in my book, but it's going to be such a narrow thing. Only 10% left to go to recontest this point.
Yeah, and I mean, sure they have the Terror Surge to work with, but no other tools really to work in terms of ultimate, so it's just going to have to be raw damage as high quality has to get onto the objective.
Yeah, that is the rush out here from Shay, so hoping to get a bunch of damage and potential out here on the side of Rat Milkers, losing one on the other side. Again, these Sojourns falling down early. She is a bit squishier than she used to be, certainly something to be conscious of, but high quality, able to confirm 2 kills. The back line taken down a peg here on the side of Rat Milkers, so low ground main looks as though they finally wrested control back into their hands, and not a moment too soon as the overtime wick was burning, and now we gain control once again with a couple ults to work with here in this next fight.
Yeah, I mean, that could not have gone better for low ground main, right? They're able to not only get onto the objective, able to get the early kill with their own Terror Surge, but then force the Terror Surge out of pickle when what was already a lost situation. You absolutely take that every day of the week. Now you're going to have, like you said, both these support ultimates and a overclock ready to go here. Low ground main in phenomenal position.
Yeah, Zachary with this overclock, hoping to find some picks here on the high ground, and immediately eating a shot coming out from Pred with an overclock of their own. However, does fall down to a deflet kill, but not before confirming 2 on the other side of things here. It looks as though this orbital ray is going to be just enough to force everyone from Rat Milkers falling down to the hands of low ground main, as they had plenty of ults to work with, and it turns out 3 was the magic number. That final fight well and truly going their way, but 199%. Megalas, I think we've got a pretty close match on our hands here.
Absolutely. I mean, realistically, low ground main, sure, they are able to win that round here, but it truly was off the back of those 3 ultimates, being able to have them at just the right time. And of course, that is, somewhat of a skill that you have to have, but it also is just a little bit of, hey, we happen to throw all of our ults together earlier in the round, so now we have them at this pivotal moment here. That being said, Rat Milkers, I mean, I feel like they fundamentally have the correct answers and they know what to do. Now, with this Pharah in the mix from low ground main, we'll have to see if Zachary can keep that. Oh, well, never mind. We don't have to worry about Pharah because it's just a bait.
No, indeed. So it is going to be Sojourns out once again, but Pred this time on the Tracer pick. Kind here with the Sojourn. So we have a bit of a variation here for low ground main, whereas Rat Milkers sticking much in the same direction they were on the previous round here. Still that Kiri Lucio backline served them well enough. Zachary, the objective would be the other direction. I'm a bit sorry to say. Yeah, that is going to be an immediate fight loss here, essentially, for the rest of Rat Milkers, just trying to get out with their lives. I'm sorry, they're not done fighting just yet. Pickle here with a solid Javelin kill is going to be a Pyrrhic victory at best. The rest of low ground main holding strong on this objective. They will take first cap as Rat Milkers want to reacquaint themselves with Terra Firma here.
Exactly, having to get the regroup going here. And it's very interesting, right? You're seeing the Tale of Two Orissas right now, high quality, having that shield perk online to be able to provide a little bit of a mini bunker, if you will, that the team can regroup on, versus Rat Milker's Pickle is just having to try to go in with the Javelin spin still.
Yeah, Pickle's been getting kills, but unfortunately, we mentioned a few times the previous round, finds himself a little bit out of position on occasion here, so something to be very cautious of course, especially when you're playing with this more cautious Orisa on the other side. So that charged up Javelin could do massive work, but unfortunately goes a bit wide there, as you do have Rat Milkers trying to find some inroad here on the actual objective itself. Zachary eats a massive rail shot to the dome. Doesn't quite fall, but still, it's so much time being burned off this aggression here from them. Pred about to have a pulse bomb online, looking for a nice juicy target to stick it to. And so many low health bars on the side of Rat Milkers. There's plenty of fodder for that bomb. Decides to go ahead with it and doesn't find a kill exactly, but still trades coming on either side here. This fight on the objective is getting very messy, but with your tank still alive, you've got to feel like low ground main have the better chance here. They're spending ultimates though. This rally here at the tail end of this fight, I don't know exactly how necessary it was. I mean, you want that fight win, but that's a heavy price to pay.
It is a heavy price to pay, but it's workable for low ground main, right? Especially by the position they found themselves in. They have Terra Surge. They're going to have this overclock as well to work with, whereas Rat Milkers is going to have to kind of commit with an aggressive sound barrier here, potentially, just to get onto the objective, as we're already ticking above that 85% here. So far, low ground main really has been able to bunker down to this point, and they even get picks outside.
Yeah, that is brutal stuff there. Zachary getting found out immediately again. All you have really contesting the objective right now is Pickle, who swapped over to that Wrecking Ball. We'll see if any value is to be gained. I love that we got to see Monkumi go for the blade and immediately get shut down. That is a couple excellent rail shots out there from Kind. And blink and you miss it. Round 2. Very much a different tale entirely. Low ground mains uncontested here. 100 to 0%. They will take Lijiang Tower and go up in the series.
And you really saw it with high quality there. It's something that you can sort of miss if you're not super paying attention. But this shield placement constantly being a minute, like look at how for the side of Zachary here is just having to try to play to get value around the shield, right? I mean, constantly as a Sojourn, you want to be on the right side of it. That way you're doing damage and stuff like that. But having to commit slide and put yourself in a disadvantageous position to be able to get off these railguns, it really was showing with how punished Zachary felt there across that second round. So low ground main clearly have their strategies in tow here, and Rat Milkers sent reeling on that first one.
Yeah, I mean, you're absolutely right. Seeing Zachary get found out time and time again, getting picked before these fights really even kick off was just such a brutal way to start things. Because the rest of the team, I mean, you can only hold back for so long before you really need to make some aggressive pushes coming through. And as we saw, as the further it went on, they even felt like the Orisa just wasn't working for them. They swapped over to that Wrecking Ball late game, which, I mean, it certainly was a bit of a curveball, sorry for the pun, but it was nowhere near the disruption that they were perhaps hoping for. It really didn't seem like low ground main had any trouble dealing with that whatsoever there. Didn't need to worry about having the javelin spin whatsoever. A simple javelin by itself is plenty, and very little you could do. I mean, against a Brig, unbothered at all by a ball rolling through, kind of unsupported by the rest of the team, it has to be mentioned as well. When you're down either Zachary or, someone else at the very start of these fights, it's just so hard to make any progress whatsoever. So a very different experience from Control Center, where it went all the way the distance, 199, just a single 100 to 0% here. This is what low ground main were hoping for coming into the series.
Exactly. This is the bounce back that low ground main needed, but that first round on Lijiang is definitely going to be lurking in the back of their minds. Rat Milkers can absolutely take it to this team who's already been sent reeling. So I definitely am interested to see exactly how Rat Milkers choose to play this with now that they have sort of map pick as well as first pick of the bans here as well. Here they could try to opt into not enabling the Orisa mirror, or if both teams are comfortable with it, potentially taking some of those other factors like the Tracer out of the mix here. But the end of the day, it is just sort of a wait and see to see exactly what Rat Milkers have cooked up in the back.
Yeah, we saw the Zarya and Cassidy bans from these teams in the first round. Does mean those are both on the table unless the opposite wants to ban them as well. With as good as the Orisa mirror favored low ground main, I would be surprised if Rat Milkers want to stick with that in terms of their go-to. Pickle clearly was showing signs of wanting to branch out from that as we got into the latter stages of Night Market there. So be curious to see exactly how they want to flex into it. If you want to answer the Orisa, I mean, it feels as though that was not the first choice here for low ground main, but still able to find so much work on that tank, able to anchor and rotate around that so effectively. And as you mentioned, that shield ability, which, yes, for some might regard as, harkening further back to Overwatch 1, but is just such a massive strategic barrier to work with, both literally and figuratively, especially on these narrow choke points on somewhere like Night Market, where you have to do so much work getting just into position to be able to fight these points out here. So we'll see how we deal with things as we head into our second map of the series, and yeah, it is really a toss-up to see what we'll be banning next.
Exactly, but as we have heard from the magical voice in our heads, it is going to be Runasapi. Very interesting to have push come up this early in the series. Most teams do like to sort of save it for the back half if it comes up at all here. So Rat Milkers clearly showing comfort on it, as well as picking a much more brawlier map here, which I do like. I think it is important to highlight, though, that the Zarya is back in play here, unless you see the ban come out from Rat Milkers, of course. Because again, both teams were playing the Orisa on that map number 1 here, and obviously, on paper, Zarya has been the standard Orisa counter for quite some time. You're able to just shoot through any and everything that Orisa wants to do with that absolutely amazing beam, but we will have to just sit and see as the bans are coming up here. Rat Milkers, I can only say so many words. Pretty please, when the timer hits 0, surely the ban will pop up. All right, well, so apparently it broke, but apparently it is Diva, which is an interesting ban to say the least.
Yeah, I mean, if you're expecting or hoping to run Zarya, I wouldn't really see any massive value to that. Of course, Zarya tends to eat divas alive for the most part, so could also just be a tank protection ban on their side of things here. But low ground main's chance to ban out coming next. So without D.Va in the mix, of course, if you want to keep running Orisa, that is more than your prerogative to do so. Anything that has to deal so much with projectiles in terms of tank or DPS could easily now find themselves in a comfortable spot. And without that Pharah, again, okay, so D.Va would have been an answer to the Pharah, so sans the Pharah does mean that's one thing you have no longer to worry about here. So we're really playing a counter pick here in terms of the bans coming through for Rat Milkers and Low Ground Main. So I'm excited to see how we play this. There's still plenty of room. I think Freya is now very viable for either of these teams here without that D.Va to eat up all those bolts, and with less hot, skybox pressure that you would get from a Zarya. I think that really opens things up here for a Freya.
Yeah, certainly high potential. I mean, Freya has been a massive impact character pretty much since her introduction into the game here. Tons of burst damage potential with the crossbow bolts, but also just spam damage from the normal primary fire as well, coupled with some great movement here. And like you said, the D.Va not being there to defense matrix through any and everything is an interesting factor as well. I am interested to see if either of these teams are going to opt into playing Zarya, because obviously they were playing the Orisa on the last map, or we potentially could see even a different Brawl tank come to prevalence here. I mean, this map certainly has been host to Malga compositions in the past, so it wouldn't even surprise me to see that come out again.
Yeah, I mean, if you're gonna get back to it, I think Reaper Zarya is still plenty possible here now that both of those heroes are well and truly available. So we'll see exactly what angle we want to come out with here. Hovering some interesting comps, of course. This is still 15 seconds out, so plenty of time to change things up. We're not gonna let the casters be baited here. But if we still want to stick with the same tanks we ran at the very end of the last map here, I mean, I think the Wrecking Ball would have a slightly better time on Runasapi, but we'll see how long this lasts. If this is a change, nope, it is going to roll out. So that is the Wrecking Ball comp out here for Rat Milkers. It is the Kiri Wooyoung backline. Monkumi here instead of the Genji. It is the Tracer. Zachary still hanging on to that Sojourn resting on the other side of things. Very similar as to what they ran the first map, exactly. We do have Kind and Pred hovering their same picks. Instead, I think just swapping roles here. So both on DPS, but now we have a Kind Sojourn and a Pred here for your Tracer, but rotating around the high ground of the initial bot location. It is Pickle being the focus of so much damage out here from low ground main. And on the back of that, Kind able to find a rail gun to pick here onto Monkumi. That Tracer well and truly silenced quickly by that Sojourn. First bot control, bit of progress coming the way of low ground main. Oh, Zachary, what a terrible position to find yourself in.
Yeah, absolutely terrible here, as Pickle is just sort of the last member that hasn't either died or run for the hills just yet here. And Low Ground Main unironically have the best counter to Rat Milker's comp already on the field, right? This Brig Juno backline able to counter and sustain each other so incredibly well and disrupt the ball or the Tracer anytime that you realistically want to come in. Rat Milkers is going to have hard time finding value with this disrupt comp.
Yeah, very little changes from the previous map, it has to be noted here, which is really interesting considering the way that particular round on Night Market went. Pickle on this Wrecking Ball is doing their very best to rotate around and cause trouble, but is just eating every single javelin that High Quality has at their disposal. A real shot, though, from Zachary does take out Swag Daddy, so no Juno support. Most of your healing going to be off the table for a few moments longer here, so Rat Milkers have finally a chance to make some progress of their own, or at least get the bot back towards the mid-ground as you're waiting for your Juno, who, it has to be noted, does have some excellent mobility. Slight adjustments to that coming in the mid-season patch. An excellent stick lands onto Pickle. However, Pred does pay for it with that Tracer's life, so a bit of tit for tat here, but losing your tank is obviously the more efficacious of those losses. So Rat Milkers, without anything really to stand upon, no sustain left to them. It's just Fish and Shay trying to get out alive, but eating a Terror Surge coming out from High Quality, determined not to let those supports run for any available hills. That is going to be a brutal stagger out here on the side of Rat Milkers.
A brutal stagger indeed, that's certainly going to result in Low Ground Main getting these forward spawns enabled already here. Again, Rat Milker's composition essentially relies on Pickle being able to draw a ton of attention. While Pickle's been able to do that, it's also happening with losing 600 HP, so constantly having to run for the hills is not a good look for the Wrecking Ball.
fame does not equal infamy for this Wrecking Ball here, and that is a Sojourn Overclock coming out for Zachary. Kind as well has one, and we've lost both our Sojourns immediately. It kind of feels like that is all I've been saying regarding our Overclocks so far in this series. It is just so much destruction coming their way the second they pop ult. Speaking of destruction, that is Pickle eating a javelin and just trying to stay on the map, not able to do so. The low ground made have not stopped pushing all through this fight.
No, they have not here. I mean, they have sort of the sustain, right? And being able to get both healers now, this bot is certainly to go above over 100 meters here. And it's just going to keep on pushing. Might even give low ground main time to get Kind back into the fight here so they can continue this push with the orbital ray here. Now, obviously, Rat Milkers has a plethora of ults to try to shut this down, but already down 113 meters is not a pretty look.
No, this is their best chance to hold here. Minefield over the bot, so that is at least going to buy some time. But look at Pickle's health bar immediately evaporate just upon being out in the open for a few moments here. Kind finding Mumkunis as both Tracers down here in this fight, but the orbital ray out from Swag Daddy, the main ult they had at their disposal coming into this fight, looks to be the thing to allow them to sustain a bit further in here. Shay goes ahead with that Kitsune Rush, layered down across the bot, but as that wears off, low ground main are still looking healthy enough in this fight. Shay has to back off just a little bit here, and Pickle again under so much scrutiny every single time you swing through. Pred and Zachary both falling down, as again every time there's a pick in these fights it seems the opposite gets a trade, but not this time. High quality Terra Surge into the Javelin finisher, make it a 3k for the tank from low ground main. Excellent work here, utilizing the only two ults they had at their disposal, whereas Rat Milkers had to spend everything just to lose that fight.
Yeah, I mean, Rat Milker certainly has been on the back foot for pretty much this entire map, and they really haven't been able to get anything going besides the stray pick here or there, like the one Fisher's got on to Swag Daddy. Now, you do need a little bit more here to actually get them off this bot, but you have a huge hill to climb now.
Yeah, again, that Orisa Bear just providing so much positioning here for high quality, but Pickle finally here on the Orisa once again, able to answer back and battle forward. But again, this deficit of meters is massive. We are talking 130 to 0 at this point. And again, there's stalls coming through as Pred decides, looking for a bit of a wave spawn here, actually, and finally will go down. But again, this fight's going to happen at the neutral, not at all where you want to be for Rat Milkers.
Yeah, not where you want to be, but also, again, you know, these fights aren't evenly matched right now, especially when it comes to the sustain of the backlines. We talked about it earlier, the Brig Juno just can sustain so much more than a Curie and a Wuyong together.
Yeah, can easily take care of each other, as you mentioned, whereas that Kiri Wuyong, I mean, they're kind of on their own here, especially when you have so much scrutiny coming out here from your Sojourn. Kind able to get 2 kills off the back of that overclock, and it is a hasty retreat here. Pickle tries to go gold to stay alive, but it is not meant to be, and Kind cleaning up once again here. So many kills. I believe it's a 4K there for the Sojourn in that last fight, and once again, we didn't even see any progress for Rat Milkers.
Exactly. So now they're going to have to battle off of their own spawn doors once again here. I'm sure they have tools like the OC to do it, but it's not the position you want to be in.
No, and look, Zachary immediately gets found out here. The second the Sojourn pops, the opposite team knows exactly where to look, and low ground main have been able to convert on those kills more times than not, cleaning up Pickle as well. So with this rush, I mean, there's very little folks left alive on the objective to even benefit from it at this point here, and that shield, that barrier, doing so much work to keep the team sustained and alive. A tidal blast onto Shay. No one even gets stunned out by it, and it's the trickle kills one by one as Rat Milkers try to stay alive, try to contest this bot for a few moments longer here. The wave respawns are very much in their favor, but without their tank, this has got to surely be the beginning of the end, as we are very near the final meter of this push coming through from low ground main. Rat Milkers doing their very best to hold the doors here, but just eating so much damage under so much scrutiny at all angles. Pickle back here on the Doomfist, just trying to stay alive, despite, of course, the lore weakness falling into this Orisa here. Eats the Javelin exactly as you'd expect. All falling so low, just able to stall things out for a few moments longer here. There is one kill that came through. Kind is going to have to roll themselves back into this fight here with that overclock, but the rally from Saucer hopefully should be enough for them to clean things up here. So finally, my voice will get a chance to rest, and this fight will long last be at an end. Rat Milkers fall one by one, and that is everyone finally cleaned off the objective. No chance to contest whatsoever. A full cap from low ground main. They put themselves at match point.
And again, just my compliments have to go to high quality here. You know, a lot of people will sort of diminish and sort of poke fun at Orisa play, but what you're seeing from high quality is incredibly good Orisa play, right? It's just the zoning, the pressure, it's all there to constantly be a menace and be sort of in the back line to do exactly what any and everything you need to here. For sustaining and just propping up the rest of your team, enabling them to be the powerful players that they can be here. So, while it's something that generally goes undeserving here, high quality really is stepping up and putting the team on their back.
Look, I am always here for tank acclaim, and high quality is very much deserving of it. But folks, we're going to go to a quick break, but do not go anywhere. We have the third and potentially final map of this series if we do not see some improvement out from Rat Milkers. Do not go anywhere. We'll be back in just a couple minutes. What is up, everybody? Welcome back to CGL. We are here in our Masters bracket, here in the lower bracket, here running forwards. We do have the sides of Low Ground Main and Rat Milkers here, currently up 2-0 in the series over their opposition. Low Ground Mains are just getting stronger as the series goes on, whereas their opposition here, Rat Milkers, they need to get a map win under their belt, or they are going to unceremoniously have an end to their series right here tonight.
Yeah, and it's not the position you want to be in, because again, we talked about coming into this series, how that elimination can be stressful for teams here. And it seems as though Rat Milkers is succumbing to the pressure, whereas Low Ground Main is thriving in it here with some beautiful answers, some beautiful synergistic gameplay from the whole squad here. But you know, it's not over until the Fat Lady sings, and last I checked, I haven't sung anything yet here. So heading into map number 3, very interested to see exactly what we're going to pick up.
Yeah, so we'll have a quick look at what our third map in the series is going to be. Here, looking at it, it is Numbani. All right, we're going to hybrid, and honestly, haven't got to see Numbani in quite some time. Love that we are going here for our third and again potentially final map in the series here. Rat Milkers need to step up, need to have themselves a solid defense and solid push, or they are going home in unceremonious fashion here. Whereas Low Ground Main, we talked about this at the start, they probably didn't expect to find themselves down here in the lower bracket. They want to tie things up and close this series out 3-0, restating their dominance here over these what they probably see as lower teams in the bracket. They want to make their way all the way to those grand finals. I'm not saying Rat Milkers doesn't, but Low Ground Main has quite a bit more to prove.
Exactly, tons to prove here, and I'm certain that they're going to be able to do just that. So far, we've had some pretty interesting bans, to say the least, right? We've had teams targeting tanks that haven't really been played at all, as both sides have pretty much been exclusively on Orisa, besides a little bit of a voyeur into the Wrecking Ball. But speaking of, the ball is not an option here as Low Ground Main, even though they dealt with it pretty well, have decided that they're just going to take it off the table.
I mean, this is just insult to injury at this point here. It feels like you're seeing those, you know, signs of life from your opposition. You just want to quash those out as quickly as possible. Get that out of here. So if you want to force the mirror of Orisa's, especially here on the home field advantage of Numbani, that is certainly doable. I mean, there's been full evidence that we have Low Ground Mains winning out in that mirror. So if you want to have your opposition there, but the break ban out from Rat Milkers, I think this is a very smart ban from them. Break was such a massive enabler through those first 2 maps in the series here. Low Ground Main relying on that Brig Juno backline that was so valuable and so clutch at so many different points, are going to have to flex things up a little bit here.
Yeah, and I feel like this is a good point to attack here, right? Because you're taking the Brigitte out. Obviously, you probably weren't intending to play the Wrecking Ball, but realistically, if you've got a decent Wrecking Ball, they can play other dive tanks, right? You never, rarely, if ever, see somebody who can play Wrecking Ball that also can't pilot the Winston or the Diva to a high level as well here. So that's exactly what I'm expecting. And pretty much all of these sort of dive attempts were getting shut down by the Brigitte Juno backline, specifically the Brig obviously hitting whip shots, stuns, and providing packs to those getting jumped in time here. So now having that off the table here is going to have to see how Low Ground Main will actually choose to respond to these dive attempts.
Yeah, the Wrecking Ball ban does 2 things. It gets the Wrecking Ball out of their opponent's hands, but also protects the tank role from being banned so that you can still play that Orisa if that is your decision to do so. However, it is instead going to be out the gate on defense, the Diva comp here for Low Ground Main, with the Ashe and Echo support. Echo having a bit of a buff and boost, fun to say those 2 words together, to her strafing ability alongside Juno, of course, but Saucer and Swag Daddy instead on this Ana Wooyoung. All right, this is a solid backline here, playing a bit differently, but you do need some protection for your Ana, so instead of the Brig, you have that Wooyoung who can provide somewhat similar in terms of flexibility here, but also getting plenty of long-range damage here as these water orbs come sailing out, trying to get a little bit of early ult charge.
Yeah, trying to get that early charge like you were saying here, and it's very interesting to see how they choose to play this, right? Normally when you see an Ana, there's generally sort of an agreement that the tank's going to go take poke damage for days on end just to farm nanos, but you don't really need to in this situation, so it's just going to be interesting to see if Salsa's just going to be looking for nade placements or what the exact plan's going to be.
Yeah, Pred on this Ana immediately finding out Monkumi, so that first fight has to take a bit of a pause there for Rat Milkers, but they're trying to find this, you know, rotation all the way around the outside of the objective here. Very telegraphed. I mean, Low Ground Main have clear sight lines on their opposition. Rat Milkers are just trying to find a way in here from this low ground potential. Of course, that Dynamite does not do a whole lot into a Diva. It gets a bit of chip damage coming through, but still able to protect your team from the worst of it there. And of course, you have to worry about Pred and Saucer so far away alongside Swag Daddy, just keeping your backline alive and well here. This is so difficult to unseat, and still the further wraparound comes here from Rat Milkers, and they are paying for it with bodies. Zachary and Munkumi both falling down to High Quality and Saucer. Low ground main finally collapsing on their opposition, feasting on the remaining members of Rat Milkers, just trying to get away with their lives. And it looks as though they are able to do so with, a single ult ready to go essentially for the next fight if Shay can stay alive.
Yeah. And obviously that's a big if here, but yeah, being able to stay alive is very, very crucial here. So far, not really have been having a fun time trying to set this up for the attackers. Rat Milkers really don't have an angle to approach it. They're not taking tons and tons of spam damage here, so it's very difficult for them to try to get in thanks to High Quality just kind of being everywhere at once.
No, but a massive early pick here. All right, Swag Daddy was a little bit far forward, not at all a comfy place to be when Pickle bops you on the noggin there, but the Nano onto Kind, enabling that Echo to really hold their own on the front line. A slightly lesser health pool does not mean much when you have that massive damage reduction coming through from that Nano, and that is Pickle taking a bit of a jump into the scenic streets of Numbani, and that is going to be another hold for the defense here. Low ground main have whittled this time bank down to under 2 minutes.
Yeah, already whittled down that ton of time, like you said here, as well as not expending a whole heck of a lot, right? Still having Tidal Blast, the duplicate, even Diva Bomb here if High Quality really feels the need to let that one rip. That being said, Rat Milkers obviously have some tools of their own that they're going to try to use to finally crack this egg.
Opening things up, putting some pressure on the objective on the back of this Bob. That is the Tidal Blast come out. Saucer, however, does fall down, but Kind is able to clean up. High Quality taking down Munkumi as well, and that is a solid suite of kills here for the side of low ground main. A rush comes through here, certified CGL Ajax. There it is. Yeah, brutal stuff there. Rat Milker is just eating so many losses in that fight. I mean, committing the Kitsune Rush when that fight was well and truly done, having only 2 members alive to benefit from it. Diva Bomb as well. I mean, they're just spending all their ultimates here. Finally, they do have bodies back on the objective. That Diva Bomb might have been well timed here just to provide some spacing for them. But the rematch kill coming here as High Quality gets back into mech as well. Unfortunately, immediately taken out of it. So it looks as though that pressure out from Pickle might have been just timely enough as they were able to hold strong on that objective. Yeah, sorry, I misunderstood your game, Rat Milkers. Very solid work there, holding ground and disdaining their opponents from touching the objective for much longer.
We talk about digging your nails in right there, but Rat Milker's able to hang on and get the point, now have this payload rolling, and they still have a Dragon Blade in the back pocket, as long as it's not met by an untimely sleep dart from the Saucer here. But that being said, the Genji is just being hounded right now by High Quality.
Yeah, still having such a tough time aggressing this backline and not vulnerable at all when you've got High Quality playing bodyguard here. Another Nano ready to be online here from Saucer, so if that lands onto Kind, once again, expect death from above with that Echo able to power forward, whether it's a Tidal Blast or the Nano. That is just such an incredible vessel to deliver those ultimates onto your opposition. Rat Milkers are still able to get some distance here. They're pushing about halfway through the streets phase of Numbani here, and what looked like it could have been a full hold is now making some solid distance, especially on the back of this blade out. But you're getting kills here on both sides as Munkumi is able to finally clean up. It looks as though they will take the advantage in this fight, but members of low ground main are still alive in a small space. That is certainly a dangerous place to find a diva, but when you have the numbers advantage, that is all you need in some situations here. Able to stall out this kill. Munkumi does fall down to High Quality, who eventually does get taken down themselves. So that is going to be Rat Milkers still pushing forward, not able to get a lot of progress during that fight though.
Yeah, and so now, like you were saying, it's just going to be a very interesting way that we have to push here. Pickle still has to get back in the mech, but Fish taken down again before the fight can even start here. Too many times as Lucio's in the wrong place at the wrong time.
Red really able to open these fights with a bang. Really solid work coming here from the Ashe. And of course, a duplicate Ashe here for Kind for just a few moments, getting some damage through onto the opposition. And that is a Bob out from Pred, the real thing here, not a copied one. But eventually taken down. Bob out from Zachary as well. Yeah, there he is, just over there, getting healed up, buying a bit more ult charge for your supports. That's a good tank right there.
Exactly, and it's super necessary because now Swag Daddy is going to have the Tidal Blast on the line for this upcoming fight here, which is going to be very, very crucial when you have the Kitsune Rush as well as that sound barrier going to be barreling down.
Ankumi getting blown up as these fights kick off. This is absolutely crucial. You cannot lose your Genji, your backline pressure as these fights begin. That is a DMech though onto high quality and eventual finish off as well. So despite Pickle being out of mech, is able to get back into it there and provide chauffeurment for the rest of the team surging forward here as we head into B. It looks as though despite going down early in that fight, this might be the chance for Rat Milkers to claim point B, and not a moment too soon as we are down to under 10 seconds for this push. There is contest coming through. High quality here on the objective does have that Diva Bomb ready to let loose if you want to stall out here on the objective. Is able to get away with a little bit more contest here, but is going to have to go ahead for that and allow that DMAC to come. Does not expend the bomb, crucially. And we are down to a minute 30 here heading into point C.
Exactly, and you know, Rat Milkers, the old saying goes, bend but don't break, and they're currently showing that, right? It's a little bit dicey every time, but they're getting through these objectives here, as well as they still have tons of tools to work with here in low ground main. Going to be seeing what they can do with this nano boost here and the duplicate once it gets online.
Yeah, Numbani very much playing to their strengths here. The longer they drag these fights out, it has been essentially in overtime every time they have kept these first 2 points, but they're making the most of the distance, going all the way through here to point C. Bomb comes out as Kind cleans up the kills from the fleeing members of Rat Milkers here. This fight well and truly over with, and it's going to be one more chance at aggression here for Rat Milkers. If Pickle can escape with mech and tech, I mean, this is going to be a brutal stagger if we, yep, and that is going to be the expansion of that ultimate to get back into mech. I mean, that's a crucial tool out of your hands.
Yeah, but you absolutely had to, right? I mean, you need to be in mech. There's so little time, you don't have time to earn it back up or even risk that gamble here. That being said, though, now the Genji Blade.
Yep, Kind goes for the copy, but the real thing wins out in the end as Monkumi's blade is able to clean up, well, nothing permanent, but is still able to create a bunch of space and pressure for the side of Rat Milkers there as Pred's Bob does fall, is still able to get that D-Mech once again. We have a pause coming through here at the 11th hour, so I know, right when it's most serious, folks, do not worry, we'll get back in as soon as we can. But, I mean, there's mere seconds left on the clock here, Megalast. I mean, that's the last possible chance. And losing their Diva and Diva's mech in particular, that feels like it's got to spell the death knell here for Rat Milker's push.
Yeah, I mean, realistically, you know, while the Genji is still, by legal definition, alive, I think it was 11 HP as well here. So you're missing 2 members already whenever this pause gets settled out here. So unless the pause was a disconnect of the entirety of low ground main, realistically, the payload is going to be halted where it is, which again, you're into point C. It should be a solid enough push in and of itself, but you obviously would hope for a bit more.
Yeah, you certainly cannot count out low ground main here when it comes to their offense, which we'll have the benefit of seeing in just a few minutes here. Pickle does manage to get back into mech. Okay, massive stuff here, but as I say, it gets D-mech'd immediately as well. Not able to use that D-Matrix just yet to get that Bionade. They need to confirm these kills. This is the same exact situation we got into in the very last stages of Runa Sapi, but this time it looks as though there is very little that the side of Rat Milkers can do. It is not their spawn after all this time, and it looks as though low ground main can count themselves lucky it was not a full cap, but this is still a lot more distance than they would have liked to give up.
Yeah, I mean, they realistically were cruising towards a point A hold, and all of a sudden they find themselves on a point C. So not the most comfortable hold here, but they get it done at the end of the day, and they have themselves a phenomenal win condition. Now they just have to look towards, again, they just have to look towards actually being able to get there, right? We know how tricky Numbani can be to cap, especially that first point, because of exactly what you saw low ground main doing, just having people who can spam, utilize that high ground. That way, any and all angles the attackers choose to push from are going to be just sort of punished over and over again here. It's going to be a very interesting one here now that low ground main is going to find that shoe on the other foot with them attacking.
I like this far pick out here from Monkumi. I mean, that Genji was kind of the most vulnerable member of their squad, getting picked out so many times, frequently as those fights were just getting started. So you want to find something with a bit more flexibility and something that can really pepper in that damage from afar, really provide the exact same thing that low ground main's defense had at their disposal. But the Freya pick out here from Kind, and Pred still on this Ashe to answer any expected long range on the opposite side. I like this comp. We'll see if it sticks. Nope, Kind was just baiting there. Fantastic work. I fell for it, hook, line, and sinker. It is going to be the Genji out, though again, into this comp. We will see how long that sticks.
Yeah, we will have to see how long it sticks here, because again, the Genji, it's such a tricky pick because it can be high value and things like that here. But as we're seeing the attack here, you know, we'll have to see if Pred can find that same value again, having to shoot from the low ground, but you got it in the team name, so hopefully the Ashe knows how to play it.
Yeah, and Swag Daddy here on the Zenyatta on the offense. High quality. I mean, just completely T-boned Zachary, gets sent packing back to spawn. I mean, what a massive play here from the D.Va. This is completely opposite of Ratmilker's offense here. Instead of going for a long wraparound, slowly bundling the team all together, they just send the D.Va in an enormous cruise missile, taking out the backline high ground of Ratmilkers. And they are sent scurrying back from spawn now as the first tick is already rolling for low ground main. And with this close hold here by the offense of low ground main, even losing their lives, you're not going to get a chance to touch the objective here. And that is point A with 5.5 minutes to go. I mean, these kills here, that's just house money for low ground main.
Exactly, and you're probably going to see, honestly, even more of that, right? High quality does not have to... Okay, sure. Thanks for the pop-up. Really appreciate it. But high quality doesn't really have to worry about being spammed and potentially taken out of mech, right? Afar is never really going to shoot at a D.Va. It's a moving target that has defense matrix. You really just want to be placing those rockets elsewhere. So high quality can be a bit of this like frontline brawler assassin.
I have to give credit. Would love to see a fellow Feel Fusion fan right there in the server, but Zachary getting that dynamite kill onto Pred as well as onto Kind, but a swift kick on to your opposing Kiriko. We are not done with this fight just yet. It is getting quite messy here, but it looks as though the kill's finally falling the way of Ratmilkers at the end of the day here. But if you're able to get high quality out of here with mech intact, it's a near thing. Able to get healed up, able to get line of sight from those supports, please. I can tell high quality is begging for a little bit of life being gained here. And that is free ult charge again for your supports. That is nano boost now ready for Saucer, and Swag Daddy not far behind.
And low ground main, Pred swapping off of the Ashe, doesn't need the range, going to be a little bit more consistent with the damage on the Cassidy here, but already a buff from Zachary to start.
Yeah, Bob comes out. That's D-Mech and kill onto high quality. So again, that is going to be a close to this fight almost essentially here. But we still have a blade rolling from Kind, who's able to clear out that D.Va mech, and on the back end of that, taking out Pickle as well. So it turns out losing your tank, I mean, that's just another day at the office here. Low ground mains unbothered whatsoever. Rolling forward here through point B. That was a really solid turnaround in a fight that could have easily gone horribly for them.
Exactly, and Ratmilker's now probably going to have to commit a lot, at least the Kitsune Rush and potentially even the Tidal Blast here, just to be able to get onto the objective in time.
Yeah, and that Transcendence rolling as the rush comes forward onto the objective. That is very little damage you're able to do to the side of low ground main, and certainly none of it is going to stick. That is a nearly 5 minutes in the time bank coming into point C. Alright, so we got to see Ratmilker's offense where they were just scraping and clawing for every single inch of progress, whereas low ground main, I mean, they're making it look easy.
Yeah, I mean, they clearly have their foot on the gas, and they have a game plan as well here. And it's really sent Ratmilkers for a spiral, and not been able to sort of piece together what they want to do. Now with a high noon in tow here, Pickle's going to have to be wary of that one. Having a well-timed defense matrix could be the only thing that keeps the team alive against this one.
Yeah, that Tidal Blast out from Fish, able to confirm that kill onto Swag Daddy, so a decent start out here from Ratmilkers, but as we've seen from low ground main, they are not always so perturbed by losing a single member, but losing two, that might spell the end to your initial push, but don't worry, you've got 4 minutes left and plenty of ults coming into this next fight here.
Exactly, still working with both the High Noon and the D.Va Bomb, but they are also going to be closing in on that Nano. Meanwhile, Ratmilkers really has tapped the bank. They're going to need a long, drawn-out fight to try to build towards anything, and realistically, low ground main's not going to let them have it.
No, the closest you are is just to this Bob here, and that's an easy focus down for the side of low ground main. Has that Nano ready to go here, and the longer this fight drags on, you're going to build up those last two ultimates to have a full chest of 5 if you're not too careful. Ratmilkers have to play this so cautiously, but Zachary falling to that D.Va Bomb, a nice play here from High Quality, going for it not just for remake purposes, but using it offensively. Love to see it here. The gold box of victory inches ever closer. Will anyone from Rat Milkers be able to even touch the payload? Nope, it turns out we are sailing clear and easy through point C. Low ground main, I mean, their defense faltered at the end, but their offense unimpeachable. Clearing up Numbani will take the series 3-0, stay alive in the lower bracket.
Yeah, I mean, Realist, coming into this low ground main obviously had the highest level of pressure on them, already experiencing one upset. They didn't want to go to another here. And of 3-0 is certainly an exclamation point in the lower bracket here. They can actually sit down and say, we're still here, we still want to play. And they gave it absolutely anything and everything, and that's why they're still here.
Yeah, looking really solid all the way through this series here. They had us a little bit questioning when they were on that defense for Numbani, but really making their offense work all the way through. Very solid work, leaving no doubt, no question as to who the victor was going to be once they had the map in their hands. Folks, we're going to take a quick break here. We're going to have an interview with our victors after this in just a moment, so do not go anywhere. We'll be right back.
Lots of love. 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 Lots of love.
Welcome back, folks. We are here with our victors interview after that match between Rat Milkers and Low Ground Main. We have, for your interviewing pleasure, we've got Kind and Swag Daddy from the side of our victors here on the side of Low Ground Main. So, first of all, welcome to it. Happy to have you both with us. First question I just want to ask for you. Was there ever any doubt this was going to be a 3-0 sweep for you guys?
I would say first map it was quite close, but after that, uh, sort of, sort of locked in. You know, got it done. After that, I don't think there was any worry of like not a 3-0.
Hey, listen, completely fair to have that confidence and stuff behind y'all. As you were going throughout the series, obviously, Rat Milkers, they were trying to throw different strategies like that Wrecking Ball and those Farrakons as well at y'all. Was this stuff that you expected or something that sort of forced you to adapt on the fly?
We kind of like expected it. Like, once they banned Diva, we kind of figured they were gonna play Pharah, so we just broke that up. And then like the Wrecking Ball comp, we weren't like too worried about. We play all right into that, so that wasn't like a huge concern for us.
Yeah, I would say I would echo that. Like, definitely the Wrecking Ball was not something we super focused on. I think after they picked Runasapi, we were a little confused because I think we have a 100% win rate on that map, and then they also didn't ban any character that we worried about, so it's kind of weird.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely fair enough here. But then also, obviously, you guys came into this series off the back of an upset, and, it was probably good to sort of be able to flex your muscles, say, hey, listen, it happens to the best of us here. As, the lower bracket run has to start now, is there any opponents you're excited to see potentially moving forward?
I mean, honestly,
man.
fuck, Iliad Poseidon
Yeah.
is our kryptonite.
Yeah.
Like,
It was really funny because the upper bracket match went exactly the same as Midseason Madness. So, it's kind of tough to say any team except the team that's beaten us twice, as much as that might be a self-fulfilling prophecy. But, you got to give respect where it's due.
yeah.
All right, well, it was great to see those compositions in particular. Glad to see the Orisa. Is that sort of like a mainstay comp for you guys to work around, or is that just sort of in answer to what Rat Milkers are running? Is that Diva more your style?
I think most teams know that we are kind of the Orisa team.
Yeah.
And that's definitely been something that teams have planned around. But I think we're confident enough that in certain matchups, it's definitely something that no matter what they play, it doesn't really matter. And we can feel confident going in with Orisa.
Yeah, you clearly both seemed very comfortable on both those compositions. So really a solid work all the way through. No notes whatsoever. Anyone you want to shout out or just give thanks to before you head out?
And I'm going back to my, my saucer, my main support. Absolute goat. They had to ban Brig because of him.
That's I'll shout out Quality for just taking over on Runasapi, and I'll shout out Alex or Pred for going crazy on Ashe in the third map.
All right, Kind and Swag Daddy, thank you so much for joining us again. Congratulations, and we hope to see you make it all the way through that lower bracket run.
Thank you so much.
Appreciate it. Y'all have a good one.
You too. Well, all right, folks, that is going to do it for us tonight. Thank you so much for joining us. What a fantastic match we got to see here. Even though it was a 3-0, it was a very fun one all the way through, really delivering on their promise, trying to make it all the way through this lower bracket run here. So from us here at CGL, from Megalast and Rags, and thank you to all our production, thanks so much for joining us. We will see you in the next one.